Hello everyone. So today we are starting our new video और आज this will be the next lecture. Previous video थी जो हमारी operating system की जो हमारा previous lecture था. In that we have discussed about the process image process, how this process basically resides in the main memory. Also we have discussed about the dual mode operations. Okay, so we have discussed about the user mode, kernel mode. If you have not watched the previous videos, so just please go and watch it. It's my guarantee that you will definitely get it, you will definitely understand it better, because I have tried my best to make you understand with easiest explanation, as well as with the help of my handwritten notes. So today we are starting, and we are just today discussing process data structures. Okay, so as you can see, these are my handwritten notes which you will get basically for free. Okay, there are no charges. I will give you the PDF of this whole in the description box, so you can go there and download. So this is absolutely free. Okay, so today we will discuss about the process data structure. We will try to understand, not try, we will definitely understand what is this process data structure. Okay, तो बात करते हैं यार प्रोसेस डेटा स्ट्रक्चर के बारे में। जो प्रोसेस, देखो प्रोसेस, व्हाट इज प्रोसेस, ये तो बताने की जरूरत है नहीं, प्रीवियस वीडियो में हमने देखा है, और मैं अब भी कह रहा हूँ, इफ यू हैव नॉट वॉच सो गो फर्स्ट एंड देन जस्ट मूव अहेड। क्योंकि आप अगर इफ यू आर नॉट वॉचिंग द प्रीवियस वीडियोस, इफ यू आर नॉट मेकिंग योर concepts clear, so you will not get the you will not get the feel of the further concepts. Okay, so first of all you need to understand what is process, what is process image. After that you will understand what is process data structure. Okay, so process data structure we are going to discuss. So basically there are two process data structure we have to discuss. First is process table. So first is process table. That process table, what it's basically do, it stores the id of every process corresponding to it. So it's like a pointer, the pointer to its pcb. Okay, so process table, it's basically a data structure, and it stores the process ids of every process. Okay, so it stores the id of every process corresponding to it, the pointer to its pcb. It is basically the pointer to its PCB. Basically, it is the process table is basically storing the ID of processes that is corresponding to it. Okay, like let's we say if process P1 having a ID, we say 01. Okay, so that process table is basically storing the ID. Like there will be a table where the processes and their corresponding IDs. So like P1 will be having the ID 01. So like this process table is storing the IDs of every process. Next is PCB. Now PCB basically stands for process control block, and it is created for every process by the operating system. So PCB, I told you what is this, it is basically a process control block. ठीक है, PCB क्या होता है, बेसिकली PCB हर प्रोसेस का होता है। ठीक है, हर प्रोसेस के लिए क्रिएट होता है, हर प्रोसेस के लिए। और कौन हु क्रिएट करता है, मतलब कौन क्रिएट करता है इसको, सो इट इज क्रिएटेड बाय ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम फॉर एवरी प्रोसेसेस। ठीक है, तो मान लो जितने भी प्रोसेस होंगे लाइक P1 P2 P3 P4, वी से वी हैव these types of these number of processes. So every process corresponding to it will have a PCB, that is process control block, and that PCB will basically store all the information related to that process. PCB, process control block. Okay, this is very much important, very much important. This will definitely ask you in your interviews and vivas also, that they will ask you what is PCB. So PCB is process control block, and what is this? It basically stores the information of a particular process. Okay, so every process has its PCB, and that will store its state, its id, means the, you can say the overall information of a process is stored in its own pcb, its own pcb. So every process has its own pcb. Getting my point? And who created it? Operating system. Okay, now we'll discuss what this PCB basically contains. So PCB basically contains process state, process ID, priority, pointer, program counter, CPU register, memory management information, input output status of that. Now we'll discuss them in detail. First is process state. So PCB contains process state. Now what is this process state? So process state is basically the current state of a process. Current state. So states, about states we have discussed in our previous videos. There are a number of states, like running state can be there, ready state can be there, okay, waiting state can be there. These are the examples. So process state. So first PCB stores what is process states. Like P1 is a process, its PCB stores its process state. So that is about process state. Second is process ID. That is process ID, as name suggests, ID means identity, any unique identification for each process. So process ID is also stored in PCB. Next is process privileges. Okay, as you can see on your screen, process privileges it stores. So what is process privileges? That basically allow disallow access to system resources. So process privileges also, okay, so that process privileges means that allows or disallows the access to system resources. Next is pointer. So pointer, it PCB also stores a pointer, and basically that pointer is pointing out, or the a pointer is basically to parent process that contains the information of parent process like ID, state, and all that. So a pointer is also there in its PCB, that is basically pointing to the parent process, okay, or contains the information of parent process. Parent process is also having a ID and state and all that, okay. So pointer basically points to the parent process. Next is program counter. Now program counter basically the address of next instruction to be executed after the current instruction. See, in PCB we are having these all things, that state, ID, pointer, privileges, and program counter. So program counter basically stores the address of next instruction that need to be executed after the current instruction get executed. Okay, so program counter contains the next instruction. Next is CPU registers. CPU register is basically where process needs to be stored. Where process needs to be stored. Okay, so it's basically a, you can say it's a memory area where our process are actually stored. Okay, so where process are actually stored, you can say CPU registers. Registers are basically a small memory, you can say small memory space. Okay, where processes are stored. Next is memory management information. So the information of page table, memory limit, segment table is all stored in memory management. This memory management information contains all this. Then accounting information basically means the amount of time CPU takes or CPU use for the process execution. Okay, for that particular process, executing that particular process, how much time is taken by CPU, it is basically comes under the accounting information. Next is input output status. So information of input devices allocated to that particular process basically stored in input output status. Okay, so this is about process data structure. And our PCB, that is process control block, that is one of the process data structure, contains this all information like process state, ID, privileges, program counter, CPU register, process privileges, accounting information, input output status, and all that. Okay, so this is about PCB we have discussed. See, PCB we have discussed. And what is PCB? It is basically a data structure of process. So process basically using two data structures, that is process table and another one is PCB. And I told you that PCB is very much important, so this can be asked in your exam. So you should know that PCB is basically created by operating system for every process, and what it stores I discussed with you. Okay, so if you have any query you can ask, and this is all about this video. Thank you.